Hi guys! So this week we are going to be starting a new art project. Now you will not need the normal supplies, so you won't need pencils, you won't need pens, you won't need paper or anything of that nature. Instead, this week we are going to learn how to do artwork on our computers. So before we get started, there was actually someone that I wanted to introduce you to.
Okay, so here is the artist that I want you to meet. This is Pablo Picasso. So Pablo Picasso is a very, very famous artist because he was known or is known for inventing an entirely new art form. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about him. So he was born in Spain in 1881, so a really, really long time ago. This is the city that he's from, so Malaga, right here on the coast. So this was where he was born, it's where he began to grow up, and people noticed that as he grew up, he was very talented at art. So he started going to school for it, and he started having these kind of like nice realistic pictures, and you're probably noticing that, okay, like it looks pretty good, his eyes are in the right place, his nose is in the right place, his hair looks like it's in the right place. So, all in all, looks pretty good. But as he was growing up, he started kind of realizing this isn't really the type of art that I like to do. So as he grew up, he ended up meeting someone named Georges Braque, and together they invented something called Cubism. Now, I'm not talking about the three-dimensional shape. Cubism is this style of art. Now, there's a few different types of Cubism, but we'll get into that later. So here we can see, it looks a little fragmented. We can kind of see bits and pieces of things that we might recognize. Like right here, we see a guitar. So essentially, Cubism is where you take something that you recognize, you break it down, and then you put it back together again using pieces in places that they might not have been before. So I want you to picture this. So close your eyes. I want you to picture a beautiful vase. So maybe it's very delicate looking. Oh, you're afraid to touch it because you don't want to break it. It's got beautiful paint all over it. It just looks really, really expensive and really, really fragile. Okay, so you've got that vase in your mind. Now, I want you to imagine me walking over to the vase and picking it up, but I'm being very, very careful about it. So I'm carefully handling the vase because we don't want it to break. But now I want you to imagine me taking that vase and shattering it on the ground. Oh my goodness, cannot believe I just did that. So now I'm going to try and put it back together. But instead of me putting it back together like a puzzle, like I was saying earlier, I might start trying to put it back with pieces that go in places that they did not go in before. So with Cubism, you start off with something that you recognize. You break it down into a bunch of little pieces, kind of like what I did with the vase. And then when you put it back together, having different pieces in different places, or maybe even just leaving out some pieces altogether, it kind of looks like the vase from the beginning. So it kind of resembles the object that it was at the beginning. So here we have another example of Cubism. So I think this was one of his earlier works. So this is a church. This is a church in Paris. It's on Martyrs Hill. And we can kind of see that it looks like a building. So we see a dome here. We also see something that maybe looks like a roof, but then the rest of it, it's a little fragmented, almost kind of looking like broken pottery pieces. So remember, he took the main image, so the church, he broke it down, then he put it back together again, putting pieces in places they might not have been before. This is another one of his works. This is three musicians. So we can see here, okay, they kind of look like people, look pretty similar. Like see a face here. We sort of see the top half of a face here. Here we see someone with a beard. We also see a clarinet. We see a guitar. We see a table. And we think this might be a table leg, but we're not quite sure. Because remember, with Cubism, there are some pieces where you can be like, no, I don't want to put this in. And you leave it out. So this is a portrait that he did. And now you can kind of see where I was saying, having two eyes in the right place as well as having the nose in the right place, because this is all over the place. If you were to look at me from the side, you would see my nose like this, but you wouldn't see both of my nostrils. You also wouldn't see both eyes on the same side of my head because I don't look like a flounder. So what he's really well known for is in his portraits, having, like I said, things in different places that they weren't before. So like I said, eyes are on the side of his head or her head. Also nostrils are on the side of her nose. We also see she might be missing an ear here as well. So he chose not to include another piece. And we also look at her hands. We think we see one here. We might see a couple of ones here. So he kind of played around with even making multiple. Now this last one is the portrait of Dora Maar. So this one's still kind of the same, where we've got, eyes on the same side of the face as well as nostrils on one side of the nose, even though it doesn't look like that in real life. We also see, what is going on with that hand? She's got fingers sprouting out of fingers. Also looking at her arm, we see one part of her arm, but where's the rest? Same with over here. We see one part of her arm, but we don't know where the rest is. So he decided to keep some pieces out of his work. You'll also notice that she's a bunch of different colors. In real life, we're not yellow and white and red and blue and green. We're not all those. So in Cubism, you can also kind of play around with the different colors. So this is what we're going to do now. We are going to go make a Google drawing. Okay? So we are going to go to a new tab. When you do, it should open up to Google. Now let's say that it doesn't open up to Google, so you're going to go to Google. Then, over in the upper right-hand corner, there are 9 dots right here. Will look like little squares. Now I'm going to click on those 9 dots, and a drop-down menu appears. So I'm going to go all the way down to Google Drive. So you want to look for the triangle that has 3 different colors: yellow on the side, blue on the bottom, and green on the other side. And it says Drive underneath. So look for this triangle. When you see it, click on it. So now that takes you to your Google Drive. So where do we go from here? Now you're going to go all the way to the upper left corner, right here, where it says New. There's also a little plus sign as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. When I do, there's a new drop-down menu. Now I don't see drawings, so I'm going to go all the way down to More. When I do, there's one more drop-down menu that appears. And look, huzzah! We see Google Drawings. You're going to click on Google Drawings. Okay, so now this takes me to a whole new page. So I am ready to get started. Now, when we're doing Cubism, you probably don't want to use the line tool right here. That'll take you a really long time. Instead, you're going to go to Shapes. So underneath of the word Format, so I'm not clicking on this, but underneath of the word Format, there is a button that has a circle with a square on top. Excuse me, a circle with a square on top. Circle on top of the square. Oh my goodness. So right here. So I'm going to click on that. And when I do, there's a drop-down menu that shows a bunch of different types of shapes. I'm super excited about it. Now, when you're making your Cubist self-portrait, please do not use something like this. We do not want to see a smiley face. No, we can do better than that. So we want to look for irregular shapes. So irregular meaning stuff that's not like a circle that's used for the head or like a square or anything like that, unless you use them in different areas. So I want to look for a shape for my head. Let's see. We've got a cool pentagon here. I don't know, this is kind of cool too. I kind of like that. Okay. So now that I clicked on a shape, there's a little plus sign. On the mouse, there will be a button on the left. I want you to click it and hold, and then you're going to, while holding, drag out the shape. Okay, so it has a cool teardrop shape. Now you're probably like, okay, Miss Houston, this does not look anything like a head. Aha, not yet. So I'm going to go up to the top of that shape, and you will see that there's a little dot that's on top of a line. So when I move my mouse on top of it, onto that little dot, it turns into a plus sign. That's good. So pressing down and holding the left button of my mouse, I'm going to click and drag. And you can rotate it around. So I think I'm going to do that. Perfect. Okay, so now it kind of looks a little like a head with the nose sticking off, doesn't it? So here, we can go ahead and start adding different details. Remember, we want to use irregular shapes. It's okay if it looks a little wacky. I think Picasso would be okay with it. So, let's see, going back to shapes, let's see what we've got here. Oopsies. Ooh, I like this. I think this will be perfect for a nostril. And because Picasso was a very big fan of putting 2 nostrils on the side of the nose, I think we'll do another one. You know, it's okay if it moves off the page or off of the face a little bit. I think Picasso would be fine. All right, so what else do we have? We can do... Ooh, I have an idea for hair. Like if I wear my hair in a ponytail. Okay, so obviously that doesn't look like hair yet. Gotta move that around. Okay, there's a ponytail. Maybe I might do an eye. Kind of like this shape for an eye. I'm kind of digging that. And then of course you want to make sure that you include another. So you do have requirements and they are on the bottom of the assignment page of your website. I'm going to do a triangle for an eye because why not? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller too. Okay, so hopefully now you're getting the general idea. Now you do not want to copy me. Please do not copy me, okay? You guys are going to be coming up with this on your own. So think about what sort of things you can use for hair, for lips, for the eye, whatever. So we've got a bunch of different types of shapes in here. So now that we're beginning to, put it together, we need to think about how are we going to fill the thing with color? How are we going to fill the shape with color? So you're going to click on the shape to highlight it. So I've already highlighted this one. Then under the word tools, there's a paint bucket and it says fill color. So for my face, I am really digging this color purple. Ooh, super nice. All right, so for my nostril, let's see what we'll do for the nostril. Kind of like this color. I think that's an orange. Yeah, I have an orange nostril. Let's do a different color for the other one. Ooh, this lime green, very snazzy. Let's see, for my eye, I might do blue. For my other eye, I might do red. So remember, you can play around with different types of colors. So your job is to make sure that you create a self-portrait of your head. Now, if you really, really want to do a challenge, you can try and do a hand as well. So we saw with the portrait of Dora Maar, he had fingers sprouting out of fingers. So that is a challenge, that's not a requirement. But your requirement is you must create a face using irregular shapes. If you do want to add on a body or a hand afterward, that is fine, but that's not required. When you are done, all the way up here at the top, it says Untitled Drawing. You click on that, and you're going to type in Picasso, self-portrait. And it will automatically save it. Alrighty, so now it is time for you to go ahead and get started. If you need to go back and watch this video, then I really suggest that you do that. Alright guys, I will see you later.